I've seen the system fall apart from the rules and all our precedents lie. I've seen the needle and the damage it's done, the wreckage left behind. My soul survives, forever doing time on a dead-end street. My soul survives. Blood like wine running down to my feet. Yeah. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter, from deep in the bowels of our underground lair, commanding y'all to go home and lock up your women, lock up your children.
You go ahead and do that.
The governor's coming for you.
I say that I shall defy. That's one of my, rules are made to be broken. That's another one of my proverbs. I think I came up with that.
I
saying.
don't think you
Yeah, I think I made it popular anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's no question.
Well, we're not really commanding you to go home. We don't care.
Yeah, and we cards on the table here. We plan to defy that tonight. So come and get us. Come, Tim Walls, you're too busy tweeting. Suspending a vaccine based on 1 out of a million cases.
Yeah,
that's what he's too busy doing. By the way,
yes.
Do you know that we now have, as of today, April 13th, we now have 48% of Minnesotans 16 or above have gotten at least one vaccine shot, and yet still no change in restrictions. I mean, what does that tell you about how long these restrictions are going to be here? Forever.
Forever.
And I bet even if the Republicans win in 2022, all of a sudden, just like kind of like passing the bonding bill, all of a sudden they'll just decide, well, we'll go along with it for a little bit longer.
Yeah, right.
Just, remember the cynical party, Jay. That's what I'm. Now, I have heard that song.
What?
Yes, I have.
Really? I thought you had no shot.
No, I listen to soul music, and I know that. What? What is that? The Queen of Soul. That's the Queen of Soul.
That is not the Queen of Soul.
Who is the Queen of Soul?
Aretha Franklin.
Okay, that was Aretha Franklin.
That was not Aretha Franklin.
My Soul Survives. Isn't that, I know who that is. I know that song. I Will Survive, right?
No, that's different.
No, that's what you said, though.
No,
I will
that's
survive.
Gloria
somebody.
Gaynor.
Yeah, Gloria Stefan or something.
No, not
but
Stefan.
I don't.
That was a Miami Sound Machine. That was Latin music.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Just like La Bamba. That's why I can't understand it. I didn't realize it was in another language. Okay, who enlighten us, Jay? Who? Now you can't make it hard like that, though. But I swear I've heard that.
Yeah, you might have. This might have been a big 93X or 93 The Edge, kind of in that period. It came out in the 80s, early 90s. It is called My Soul Survives, or Soul Survive is what it's actually called. Soul Survive from Asphalt Ballet. It was
Asphalt Ballet.
Yes, it was a heavy metal band back in the late 80s, early 90s. I think they had one album, if I remember right.
So
I don't know. They're kind of at the end of all that,
Let me just say this. I always love the stories of how bands got their names. I love to hear the story of Asphalt Behind. I'd love to hear. What did you call it?
Ballet. Not behind. That sounds like somebody who had a skateboarding accident or.
Yeah, man, my Asphalt Behind. So
really? My goodness.
You're terrible. All right, so here's the thing.
Well, they're from San Diego.
Wow.
Kind of blues
through
rock,
there.
hard rock, southern rock. The band's name was derived from descriptive terminology used to depict a motorcyclist crashing and skidding along an asphalt concrete road at high speed.
Well, where do you get the ballet part? Were they wearing pink shoes or something when it happened?
No, I guess that's just kind of the dance you do when you fall off a motorcycle at high speed.
All right. Well,
there you go.
You learn something new every day. Now, I hope I learned something else other than that. But, Jay.
Oh, wait. I have a comment from the lead singer of this band that you're going to appreciate this. He was asked about a reunion with his former bandmates and said, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but man, I haven't talked to them guys in about 20 years. Their MySpace is no longer available. Maybe you know him.
Yeah. Yeah. I would know, but my Windows 3.1 is down right now, so I don't know.
Oh, and they did have 2 albums. It looks like 91 and 93 were the 2 albums. So yeah.
Well, I was around back then. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But I do not know of asses. What is it called?
Asphalt Ballet.
Asphalt Ballet.
Yes.
Well, that's got to be that had of all. And I encourage people to go to Spotfly and get our music from the podcast. That's got to be one of the more obscure things that you've come up with.
Possibly.
I mean, I don't know what would rank as the most obscure, but that's got to be.
That might be up there.
5.
Yeah,
that's got to be up there.
That might be up there. You're right.
But I tell you what, even me, folks, I can listen to music from the Community Solutions podcast, put it on random, and you can listen for a long, long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
Need a few Phil Collins songs in there for me to get a little more.
We've got
we
one.
had a Genesis song, I think.
We had a Genesis song. We also had "I Don't Care Anymore" from Phil Collins, if I remember right.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, then I must
see. That's one of my. I fell in love with that song. That one, obviously everybody loves "In the Air Tonight," but that one is kind of in the same vein as that song. But when it was on Miami Vice, I fell in love with that song. It was the perfect song for the perfect moment in that episode.
All I remember was Dana Carvey impersonating Phil Collins on, and Paul McCartney on Saturday Night Live. That was enough.
Yeah.
The Paul McCartney one, I think, was the best. But anyhow, Jay, we are in the bowels right now of St. Louis Park, your favorite city.
Absolutely.
Your third adopted hometown or whatever.
Do I ever love it?
And they have, we did the 20 is Plenty show not long ago.
Yeah.
Actually, it was a few months ago now, but it doesn't seem like it was that long ago. And some news coming out of there about their new speed limits. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
What are they up to?
Well, as we had reported previously, and I can get the episode number on that, but there are a whole bunch of cities that seem to be switching their residential streets from 30 miles an hour down to 20 miles an hour. And I don't know if it's all residential streets either. I think just about anything where it's 30, they want to take it down to 20.
Well, they don't have jurisdiction over any city. I don't think they have jurisdiction over streets that go, they don't have any over county. They don't have any over trunk highways. They don't have any over roads like that.
Right. Not county roads or that kind of thing, but yeah.
But look at it this way. They're existing, but why not just make it 0? How about we just make driving illegal?
Well, where was it where we had seen where they were reducing them even further?
I know. Pretty soon it's going to be 5 is plenty.
We do have it on the podcast, so you'll have to listen to that. There was one city that was looking at even going lower than that, and I don't remember. And yeah, really, they want you to walk and bike and all that stuff, and so
we don't want to.
But I think it's funny because they sent this mailer out to everybody, in St. Louis Park about it, and of course they've been talking about it in work sessions for a long time already.
And of course, you and I have eyes and ears everywhere.
Absolutely.
So of course, we have obtained through our super secret sources. We have obtained this mailer.
Episode 187, by the way.
So you think about 187. That was probably last October-ish, maybe?
November 30th.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it has been a little while, 5 months, I guess.
I guess so. But yeah, so it's funny because they want to tell the public and get them on board is what it amounts to. One side of this mailer says that they are considering. Let me actually look at it, and I'll give you the verbiage as it reads. It says that adjusted speed limits considered for St. Louis Park. Now, what does that say to you if they're considering something? Not in our cynical government speak, but if you received that as a regular resident.
I would, I'll pretend I'm ignorant about local government.
Yes.
I would say that they are taking feedback from different sides. They maybe had resident complaints here and there. Maybe they've had an uptick in accidents or something, and they're trying to think of what the possible solution might be. That they are consulting residents, businesses. Nobody's made up their mind yet. Right. They're just exploring something, and they may do it, may not do it, may do it in the future, might keep their eye on it, might, whatever. I mean, if I'm considering going on vacation to Hawaii, I mean, what does that mean to you? Well, I'm looking at what it costs, looking at how much time I can get off work. May do it, may not do it. Wife might want to go, she might not. I'm sure she does. But that's what I would
a fair to Midland chance.
Yeah, there's a 1 in 3. Yeah, I mean that's how I would take it.
Yeah, we're dipping our toe in the water, and we're.
But Jay, this is government, and as the chairman of the cynical party, I'm going to say there's a 100% chance that this is actually going to be done, and this is the sales pitch for it.
I would say you're right, because if all you have to do is look, I mean, you got to do a lot of searching to find this, and by a lot of searching, I mean you have to flip the card over and look at the other side of it.
Which they're probably hoping you won't do.
Right.
Probably hoping you'll just blow your nose on this and throw it away.
Right. Well, it's card stock and it's laminated. That would be kind of weird. But slower speeds.
Well, I might do it anyway.
Slower speeds coming soon. 2021, St. Louis Park, Minnesota. They spent money on a logo. Oh, well, we'll get into that in a moment. So what does that tell you about their considering?
Well, tells me the decision's made. Now we just have to sell the public on it.
Right. And to further that point, I mean, they have this nice fancy logo where it says slower speeds coming soon. I read it for you already. It's this yellow circle, and in the yellow circle, you see a bus, of course, and you see a couple of cars, and you see all sorts of street signs. And so somebody designed that. They had to pay somebody to design that.
Yeah, they have nobody capable of designing anything.
Right. So they spend some money there, and they have a page on their website.
Yeah, I'm going to take it. Let me go to that. I'm going to take it a step further.
Yes.
Because if you go to stlouispark.org under speed limits,
yes,
they already have a before and after map. They have a interactive speed limit, then a recommended speed limit. So, translation, they've already identified where they're going to reduce the speed limit.
Yes.
And again, these interactive maps are also something somebody had to work on.
Absolutely. A lot of employee hours went into this.
Well, but this isn't, and again, it's a one-size-fits-all fix. It's not okay, we got a problem on you know how most traffic things are, Jay?
Yeah.
They aren't everywhere.
Right.
You've got an intersection between these two roads, that's an issue.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. There's not a sidewalk, or there's a school nearby, or there's...
People keep blowing through a stop sign.
Yeah, there's a bus stop, there's a railroad.
Right.
There's, for some reason, this intersection's a pain in the ass. Okay, and you've got to come up with, okay, we're having too many accidents or too many complaints or whatever. What do we do? But when you have, or same thing in a neighborhood, speeding may be an issue in between roads, people taking shortcuts. I mean, it can happen. Okay. But again, when you make the one size fits all, that we don't care where you live, we don't care what you think, we don't care if you want to ride your stupid bike with your ugly helmet and your stupid spandex where I can see the sweat marks on your butt crack. Okay, fine. But you're not doing that. This, you can tell, is brought down by some knucklehead at the League of Minnesota Cities or some. We know that St. Louis. I want to see who's consulted with them on this. That's what I'd like.
Well, maybe we should fill out a
request form and see that, because I guarantee you they've had somebody come in, present this stuff, or Jake the Snake has gone off to the 20 is Plenty conference, probably on the city's dime, and come back and go, here's the latest trend over in Amsterdam that is what's happened. So, I mean, I think that's 100% what this is. I think there's zero chance that residents are asking for this change. They may be asking for the laws to be enforced.
Yeah.
And that's possible. Because, I mean, I've gone through this. I mean, when I ran for office, I mean, there were a couple doors I knocked on where, not enforcing traffic violations was a concern, which is legitimate, totally legitimate. But nobody said to me, make the speed limit 10.
Right.
They said, no, it's fine. Just, we need a patrol over here like when the kids get off school or something like that. And this is not coming from residents or anybody else.
No.
It's coming top down from somebody up. And of course, St. Louis Park, they're as predictable as the sun coming up from the east. If it's a dumb, stupid, idiotic, trendy idea, they're all over it like a kid selling lemonade on a hot day.
Like if you go through a drive-through, I mean, it's amazing they still can have drive-throughs and they haven't followed Minneapolis. If you want a straw, you have to ask for one. You don't just get one. What a stupid law.
Of all the things to worry about, I mean, we're going to get into something
ranked
in
choice
a minute,
voting.
But I mean,
the list goes on and on and on in this city.
It just tells me that they're overstaffed and they have little to do there. I mean, that's I take
like
it.
you said. I mean, and let's just say, I think we mentioned this on that podcast, that this came from the Minnesota State Legislature giving the cities the ability to change speed limits, which they didn't have that before, I guess. Now they have the ability on most of their streets, which I agree with. Cities should have the ability to say what goes on their streets based on the need. Well, that's not what the cities have done. Whether the legislature didn't know it or they were lobbied by League of Minnesota Cities or 20 is Plenty itself, that they then made this law somehow in accordance with something like that, or just bad timing, which I don't buy, because it seemed like cities were ready to pounce on it as soon as it was changed. And then you have cities that are all of a sudden not hesitating whatsoever to jump on this 20 is Plenty bandwagon. We saw Minneapolis do it last year. There are other cities that have started the process, and now we see St. Louis Park considering it by sinking a ton of money into it already and creating all this stuff. I mean, you know how this goes, Andrew.
Yeah.
We've already spent too much money. We can't not do it now.
Well, and what is the need to hire outside consultants? There's plenty of data out there if you want to study data. Okay, there's just plenty of it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's you can make a phone call and you can talk to your police officers and get you could look at 911 reports or accident reports, and which are sitting right there at City Hall about, accidents involving speeding or whatever, or where there's no reason to bring in some head honcho from some 527 group or something like that, unless you have an agenda that you're pushing.
And just say, all of your 30-mile-per-hour streets need to be 20. And it's always 20. So we know that it's this group because it's never 25. It's never 15. It's 20.
Never 27 and a half.
Right. I'm sorry. If it looks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's a duck.
Well, I think a data request would be very interesting, because I'd like to see what they, and I'm not sure slower is safer. I'm not sure I agree with that.
I think it causes agitation. If you have people going too slow, and that's what part of this is another green measure to slow down traffic, get people out of their cars, and get people using other modes of transportation,
I
because
think
it's just too inconvenient to drive.
I think it's going to have the opposite effect. I think it's going to have a pissing off people effect. I think it's going to have, again, I think all of these do not belong on roads. I think that walkers and bikers cannot share all the time with drivers. It just doesn't work like that.
Okay.
And it's just, you can't push everyone in the same spot. I mean, it's kind of like saying, we don't do this anywhere else. Where else do you just shove a bunch of unrelated things and throw them all in one basket?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you don't do that. It's like, I can remember my parents when I was a kid. Look, you stay on the residential streets with your bike. Don't go over bridges. Don't get on. I mean, what's so hard about that?
Yeah.
I mean, I look outside the window. We're in St. Louis Park right now, and I look out the little telescope of our underground layer here. I don't see 1 million cars out there every day.
No.
I don't see anybody driving by 60 miles an hour.
Nope.
In fact, I also don't see anybody biking or walking either. Can I just say that?
At
At the park
I'm around here enough that I see some people biking and walking, but yeah.
Okay, well, if this were January, I bet we wouldn't see anything. So, I mean,
Right.
well, you know, you can't, I don't know, you just can't force people to do that. I mean, look, at some point there's going to be a backlash with this stuff. I mean, there just has to be. I mean, I can't imagine, you know, unfortunately, I think they say slower speeds make roads. I think they've said that so many times that it's beaten into people that it's true. And I think that I think the data on that's questionable. I think it's questionable.
Yeah.
Speeding is not always a cause, and some people can follow all the rules and still get into an accident. I mean, accidents happen. Well, they just do. I mean, you know, and they're not, like we said before, they're not always the fault of the driver.
No.
You know, I mean, I've seen bicyclists run red lights. I've seen people run out in the middle of the street. You know, I mean,
Right.
it's just, for some reason, the car is always seen as the you know, perpetrator. And
Right. It's never the bicyclists that run through red lights or stop signs. It's never the jaywalkers. It's never the you know.
All right, I've had enough of.
I just want to say this though, and this has been a changing culture completely. That people who bike and people and pedestrians do not look out for cars anymore. Like, they have been trained that the car needs to be 100% responsible to make sure it sees everybody and is prepared for everybody. And you see it whether it's on the street or in parking lots or whatever. I never used to have people just decide, I'm going to walk right behind your car when you're backing up. You know, but now that's commonplace. And then they give you the dirty look if you didn't see them sneak out from behind the car next to you.
Do you know what I'm a master of? Giving the dirty look back.
Yeah.
Or I have a finger I sometimes use too.
Yeah, there are cars that shouldn't be on the road too. I mean, just last week, some guy blew through a red light and then made a wide turn and came back and forced me off the road. And I actually went up over a curb, through a line of trees onto a biking path.
Well, the way you drive,
and back.
I guess.
No. I mean, he blew through a red light and then he made a wide turn into the middle lane and came back into the lane I was driving in and forced me right off the road. And then, gave me one of those salutes with.
Yo, one finger salute.
I had nothing to do with it. It wasn't my fault.
I guess I should laugh. I could just see
could
you
have died.
driving. I can just see you driving on a sidewalk, looking up and getting flipped off. Your heart just pound. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been in that situation too. I mean, this is a while back, some a-hole who wouldn't let me in. But man, I nearly ran out of road. I mean, I had to merge, and if I sped up, this guy sped up. If I slowed down, this guy slowed down. Finally, I just had to hit the brakes and turn in, and I gave this guy a honk or two. Put it that way.
Oh, I gave him a honk. That I did do.
I love it.
It
You know, I'll tell you
might have
what.
been 2 or 3.
All the crap
really
that
long
happens
ones.
to us is good radio. It just
Yeah.
is good radio.
We're here for your entertainment, everybody.
Speaking of entertainment,
Yes.
City of Brooklyn Brooklyn Center,
Yes.
is providing plenty. Well, Brooklyn Park does too.
Yes.
But they're providing plenty of, I don't know if I'd call it entertainment.
No.
But
No.
the woke mayor is definitely giving some, showing the world, once again, just like Minneapolis, just showing the mass incompetence of Minnesota government
Yeah.
on display. What's the guy's name? Mike Idiot? Elliot? I'm sorry. Did I say idiot?
Yeah, that's what you said.
And I'll tell you, I don't know that I've ever seen in a 48-hour period, Jay, events like this. I honestly can't tell you. This is almost unprecedented what I've seen.
Yes.
Okay, and you too. I mean, I don't know. I can't think of a scenario. Obviously, we had the events of Sunday the 11th where there was a traffic incident or whatever. I actually have not brushed up completely on all of it. What I've heard was somebody was pulled over for expired tabs when they ran the plates. Found out there was a warrant for whatever. I mean, I don't even know, actually. It doesn't matter. There was a scuffle. And an officer discharged a weapon, and this young man passed away.
Yes, and it was an accidental discharge, according to her story.
Meant
to pull the taser, and you hear in the video she yells, "Taser, taser, taser," and then shoots the guy, and it's like, "Oh no, I just shot him."
Yeah, I mean, Again, you can draw your own. You can watch that. It's it's the video is a tad disturbing, but you can it's important that. And I'm going to say something here. Kudos first off to the, I guess now ex-police chief for he didn't have to release this right away. I mean, there's no rule that this has to be done, but I thought it was great transparency that they released it immediately.
Absolutely.
And it was less than 24 hours after the incident. I believe it was like 20 hours later. So obviously this was the real deal here. And of course, all hell has broken loose since then. There's a few unpopular things you could say right now, and I'm going to avoid those for the time being.
I may not.
Yeah, but I really want to focus on what's happened in Brooklyn Center. I don't want to address the curfews. I don't want to address the black-white stuff because there's just nothing I can say there that's going to change anybody's mind on either side. It just isn't going to happen. So it's useless to do that. One side will just say that you should never resist arrest and blah, blah, or whatever happened. Another side will just, there's too many people who hate law enforcement. There's too many people who excuse law enforcement all the time.
Yeah.
I think there's way too many people on one side or the other. So I don't want to go there, Jay, with this show. But the response of Brooklyn Center has not gotten much scrutiny from, well, of course it hasn't. I mean, no one cares about anything like that. The media has done very little other than regurgitate city talking points. And I think going through their actions and the legality of what they're doing right now, even imposing a curfew, which I think is not acceptable.
And depending on what's going on at the city level, I think, that's a city decision. I don't think Governor Walz had any business doing that over a 4-county radius.
Dakota County?
I know. Why didn't you throw Washington and Carver in there as well?
Anoka County, where people swimming across the Mississippi to, the thing that bothers me about it is 7 p.m. hits, protesters and looters are doing whatever they want to.
Yeah.
And everybody else is in jail at their house.
Yeah.
And then, of course, nothing happens.
Nothing
8 o'clock
happens to
goes
them.
by. 9 o'clock goes by. 10 o'clock goes by. 11 o'clock goes by.
Yep.
We were told Monday afternoon by our dictator-in-chief there's going to be severe consequences.
Right.
There were 40 arrests. Everybody's been released.
Yes.
And there wasn't squat.
I'm sure Kamala Harris has bailed them all out.
And a curfew is laughed at by people who loot and protest. They know.
Absolutely.
They know nothing's going to happen if they just go do what they want.
They were all lined up at
I want to
City
see.
Hall and the
I
police
want to see
station.
the people on film. Where are they being arrested?
Nowhere.
Where's the body cam footage of that?
And here's what's really criminal about this, Andrew, is that you have a governor who thinks that any time there is a reason, he can tell everybody to stay in their house. That is the culture that we're being conditioned for, is that I have a reason, you go home and you don't come out until I let you out. I'm sorry. That's not acceptable. That's not how we do things in the United States. You don't punish the people who are innocent. You punish the people who are guilty.
I'd like to see what happens when Derek Chauvin's acquitted on the top count, which I predict he will be.
He will be, yes.
And if he's convicted, Keith Ellison, the moron that he is, has written Chauvin's appeal for him, and he'll get it. I mean, you can't pull back a count of murder, then try to reinstate it. That's an admission that there isn't evidence for that. So that was Keith Ellison's fault 100%. And look for Keith Ellison to take over this case. I mean, that's my prediction is, he thinks he's some self-righteous. Yeah. I won't say what I think of him. I just don't feel like swearing right now.
Thank you.
But we have, so after this happens, this is Monday afternoon, Monday around noonish, is when the video gets released. The police chief answers questions from I don't know who, because there were people arguing with him, shouting at him. I don't know who was in there.
Yeah.
Now, our normal media in Minnesota suck.
Yeah.
But because all they do, they're not interested in doing any real
journalism.
I mean, journalism requires skepticism, and I don't see that.
Skepticism, research, investigative journalism is the thing of the past.
But that's not digging up dirt. I think there's this Watergate mentality among the media that their job is to go bring somebody down, and that isn't what they're supposed to be doing.
But only one side. Yeah, you don't bring everybody down.
But you see that everywhere. The sports media is the same way.
Oh yeah.
Go destroy somebody. Go find a quote from 1983 and then have them disavow it now or something. I mean, that's investigative journalism today.
Yeah.
But, just a circus, pathetic press conference. A few hours later, basically, the mayor, who has no authority to remove any police officers, basically announces he wants the officer fired.
Right.
The city manager, who does the hiring and firing, I can't remember his name, doesn't matter, says, wait a second.
Matters a little bit.
Well, you look it up.
Because of what happened to him. So, okay.
The city manager, what's his name? I got it. Kurt Bogani.
Yes.
Bogani? I don't know how to pronounce it, sorry. But says, hold on a second. There's due process here. There's a union here. There's steps to be taken, just like there would be, Jay. If any time somebody is fired, there's kind of a fact-finding mission, and how's this person been as an employee? I understand the officer, and her name's been released, but I'm not saying it here. Apparently, her address has been released as well by, again, some a-holes in the media, and I'm not going to. I don't want us to say those things out loud. I'm not going to add on to it. But a few hours later, the city council meets and disposes of the city manager.
Yes.
And has the mayor take over the police department.
Which, now, by the city charter, I guess.
By the city charter, they have.
Can kind of loosely do that.
Yeah, I mean. They basically put it to you this way. It's all this emergency stuff. This idea that if there's an emergency or a crisis, they can decide for an amount of time that they can do whatever they want to. I mean, if I can just sum it up like that, that's pretty much the answer.
Yeah. Here's what it says. City manager. City manager shall be the chief administrative officer of the city and shall be chosen by the council solely on the basis of training, experience, and administrative qualifications. The choice shall not be limited to inhabitants of the city or state. The city manager shall be a citizen of the United States and shall be appointed for an indefinite period.
Well, that's racist.
That is racist. You're not appointing people who aren't citizens. The city manager shall be removable by the council at will. provided, however, that if removed at any time after 1 year of service, the city manager may, within 15 days after such removal, demand written charges and a public hearing on the same before the council. But pending and during such hearing, the council may suspend the city manager from office with or without pay. Such public hearing shall take place within 30 days after the demand for the same and before the hearing. During the suspension, absence, or disability of the city manager, or in the case of a vacancy in the office of the city manager, the duties of said office shall be performed by some properly qualified person designated by the council as acting manager.
Okay, but let me back up because there's a caveat to that.
Right.
City manager has a contract.
Yes.
Okay. That is, the city charter is something that governs cities in case of this or that. The city manager has a contract.
Right.
Okay, I guarantee you the contract does not let the city manager walk away with nothing, does not let them get fired unjustly,
Right.
has to spell out something that, I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, we're suspending you for right now, we're reinstating you after this emergency is over.
Right.
That's not allowable, I'm sure, under a contract. There's no
Right.
way he could be just terminated like that. I've seen cities try to relieve their city manager of their duties before the end of a contract. It is not easy.
No, it's not.
And it's not comes without writing a big check. So I'm going to tell you right now, Brooklyn Center, I hope you've paid your League of Minnesota City dues because you're looking at a huge lawsuit for this.
Yes. Well, let's look at his crime, though. I mean,
what's his fireable offense? I mean,
well,
demanding due process for a city employee?
Here is the treacherous kind of things that he was standing up for. The due process clause of the 14th Amendment of our Constitution that the mayor happened to swear allegiance to protect and uphold.
Oh, the mayor's
by the
never
way,
read that.
is the source of an array of constitutional rights, including many of our most cherished and most controversial.
Where are you getting this from?
This is just from the constitutioncenter.org.
Oh, okay.
Consider the following rights that the clause guarantees against the states. Procedural protections such as notice and a hearing before the termination of entitlements, such as publicly funded medical insurance. Individual rights listed in the Bill of Rights, including freedom of speech, free exercise of religion, the right to bear arms, a variety of your criminal procedure protections, and fundamental rights that are not specifically enumerated elsewhere in the Constitution, including the right to marry, the right to use contraception, and the right to abortion, blah, 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 blah. I don't agree with the last one, but I'm just reading here. So this is the Fifth Amendment also kind of outlines that, but that has to do with federal stuff as it came out of the Civil War, and the 14th came along later to give that same right to non-federal matters.
14th Amendment took the Fifth Amendment a lot further, I think.
Yes.
The way to look at that.
Yes. So it means that then as due process requires, at a minimum, notice, an opportunity to be heard, and an impartial tribunal. So that's all he's asking for. Pretty treacherous, if you ask me.
Yeah, and there are...
Let's go over the information and let justice have its say. That's what he's asking for. Let's do an investigation, a full investigation, and let justice have its say. And he was fired.
Well, I mean, the idea that you're going to fire the person the very next, immediately, I think is questionable as well. I mean, what would have been the harm in saying, look, we're going to do work for a few days, and at the end of that, we're going to make a choice. I don't understand. By the way, Andy Mannix, who's a reporter for the Star Tribune, reported that the mayor, I did not see a quote from Mayor Mike Elliot about this, but his reporting last night, Monday the 12th, is the city manager was fired. It was one of the requests from activists.
Yes, that is true.
They said the city manager was responsible for ramping up violence at protests. And activists demanded that the city manager be fired. So we know who this woke mayor is listening to. I mean, I'm assuming somebody from the Star Tribune is not, some right-wing nut. So I don't know Mr. Mannix's work. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
He was on the scene there apparently. So he must have some sort of firsthand knowledge about that. But and here's a quote from the city manager. This is from KSTP, Channel 5 at their website. All employees working for the city of Brooklyn Center are entitled to due process with respect to discipline. This is a principle that we've always worked from here in this city. And he was a city manager there for 18 years. So, I mean, it's not like he's a rookie or, by the way,
if he was doing that bad a job.
How do you get the city manager is responsible for violence?
Yeah.
The city manager give orders to do something? I mean, where's the evidence of that?
Yeah. Not unless the city has like a department of protesting.
Well, but I mean, ultimately, the police chief is probably the one I would imagine. In fact, I believe his name is Tim Gannon.
Yes.
Basically took responsibility for saying, look, I remember him here saying, we ordered everything to cease and desist 5 times.
Yep.
And we said, we're not doing a 6th.
Yep.
So if you don't go home, this is what's going to happen. So, I mean, there's to say that they escalated it is.
Well, they did because they didn't just let them do whatever they wanted. They were being confrontative. Right? Well, I mean, we see this. I mean, too, if we look at
anyhow, I want to say something though, that the vote was 4-1
yes.
to remove the manager. Councilmember Dan Ryan was the one who voted against this. I saw somewhere else that it was a 3-2 vote, but I don't know if that was. I'm not seeing where.
Well,
moments ago the council. Okay, it was 3-2 to give the police department command of the mayor. It was 4-1 to remove the city manager.
Yeah.
So there were 2 separate votes. But I'll tell you what's really disturbing. And I think the most disturbing thing that I saw is a comment made by Councilmember Chris Lawrence Anderson. And do you know what her reasoning was for firing the city manager? Now, this is grounds for her resignation.
Absolutely.
In my opinion. I mean, this is.
If you live in Brooklyn Center, you should be demanding her.
This is ridiculous.
And the mayor too. But this is.
But I'll say this for the mayor: as bad as he is, okay, he's not shying from any decisions that he's making.
No,
I mean, I abhorrently disagree with him.
It's completely unconstitutional.
It's ridiculous what he's doing.
Yes.
And the idea he could just go fire everybody, but he's safe. He can just,
right.
It is ridiculous. However, he is making decisions and standing by them. And
you guys want fascism, you got it.
Exactly. But listen to her reasoning. She voted to fire the city manager out of fear of potential reprisals from protesters if she did not. Quote, he was doing a great job. I respect him dearly. I didn't want repercussions at a personal level. So what are you saying? That your basic answer is, if I keep a city manager who, in your words, you respect him dearly and is doing a great job, because you're scared of what protesters are going to do to you? What does that say about the lack of anything in Brooklyn Center? You're basically saying to protesters, you protest hard enough, you loot enough, you destroy the city enough, okay, what do you want?
Here's the keys to the city.
Anything you want, go right ahead.
Yep.
You know what you are, Miss Lawrence Anderson, your stupid hyphenated name? You are a disgrace. You're a coward. You belong nowhere near the job that you're holding.
Yep.
You're a despicable human being. And you know what? I'd love to see somebody fire you because they're afraid of something that might happen to them.
Like you won't stand up for them when they need it.
Exactly. You throw them under the bus when it's convenient for you. And funny thing is, I haven't seen a lot of coverage of this.
No, I haven't either.
I mean, it's almost like, oh well, she's a chicken, so
public servant, huh?
Well, yeah.
Serving the public, serving herself, saving her own hide.
You're letting letting the mob dictate everything. What's their incentive now? What is the incentive to stop looting or rioting right now? But if I'm a looter and a rioter and I read that the more trouble I cause, the more change, the more things I want can come, I'm going to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I
mean, I'm sorry, but that's just weak, and it shouldn't surprise anybody. I mean,
I'm a little surprised that
I was too. I was taken aback at first. That's pretty honest, and I appreciate the honesty, but it should result in you're getting. I don't know what their charter says. I haven't looked as far as if there's a recall action or dereliction of duty or something like that. But you're a public servant and you're serving yourself. You decide that the political waves are too tall, too fierce. And so you just need to cut the dead weight to save yourself, and it's that's embarrassing. So
I don't know. It's just.
But yeah, I mean, what's with this city council? I mean, are they all spineless like that, or is the mayor pushing them around, or are they all bad, except for a couple of spineless people? Because then we get into how they're undercutting the police as well. The Brooklyn Center had a resolution and they approved it, banning crowd control tactics, rubber bullets, tear gas.
Well, and what's strange about it is that the Brooklyn Center police can't do that, but anybody else
right.
can.
And
let the National Guard come in and
thank goodness for the National Guard, the state troopers, and all that are there because they're able to. I think St. Louis Park sent police officers over there. Yeah, but yeah, that resolution limiting police crowd control tactics during protests. Let's see.
Well, ultimately, it's a very long resolution of naughty things that they can't do.
Right.
And also, at the end of the night, this is another thing.
Yes.
The deputy city manager was, quote, temporarily taken over. And the council passed a resolution to recommend that the officer involved and the police chief both be fired.
Yes.
Basically implying you either fire them or we're going to fire you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that to me, that's, it's funny. Their charter gives them no control over hiring. I mean, do you think that that's okay? If your charter says that the city manager is in charge of, and I don't think that it should be that way.
Right.
But again, then you change the charter. You don't suspend things because you don't like them. Then isn't there an obligation to say, okay, by threatening their job, you fire this person or we're going to fire you, you are in effect deciding who gets hired and fired. Mm-hmm. So again, either change the charter and take that authority away that the city manager isn't the sole. Of course, you know how you and I would like it, that the mayor is the executive, not the city, and that's the form of government you and I would like to see. That's not how they have it. Yeah. You don't change it after the fact. And then today, so the acting city manager tried to pacify them they basically put a 24-hour clock on it.
Mm-hmm.
And today it was announced, Tuesday the 13th, when we're recording this, that the police chief and the officer involved have both resigned, which I think is a serious mistake on their part.
Absolutely.
I think that, because I don't see what the police chief did that warrants,
No, you can't be responsible for something like that. That's not a training thing.
But think about it at work, Jay. If somebody, if one of your employees gets fired for taking a long lunch or showing up late or whatever, are you fired too? I mean, no.
No.
I mean, it just, you go, you fix, you do your best, but you can't be responsible for everybody else's behavior. This was a longtime police officer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's, I think it's just.
And it's possible that they resigned because they thought the protesters might stop. No, they're not going to stop.
Nothing's going to pacify this.
No.
I mean, I just don't think.
No, they are going to seek criminal charges on this police officer, and they will not stop until they get them. And then, there's the whole trial and all of that stuff, and there'll be an investigation. There'll be some sort of trial. Well, if they can find some sort of criminal charge to bring against her, whether that's negligence or you're not going to charge her with homicide. I don't think you can prove that ever.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I don't think you're going to do that, but I do think you're going to. I think she's going to be charged with something.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're going to have to throw this mob a bone, or they're going to just continue to tear Brooklyn Center to shreds. I mean, as you saw with the George Floyd thing, they wanted charges. They wanted first-degree murder. They wanted this and they wanted that, and they were getting most of what they wanted. Obviously, first-degree murder was never going to stick. That's why Mike Freeman came up with the third-degree murder, and then when it was given over to our illustrious...
they screwed it up a little bit. Yeah. I think so. I think you're going to see. I do think she's going to get charged with something.
Reckless endangerment or
could be involuntary manslaughter. If we get to that point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's possible.
Those are all things. I mean, and you're going to have, I think, a mob, though, that's going to want to push for murder charges. You're never going to make that stick. So I don't know, and that's what really got me is all of these people that came on and started talking about racism right away. Even though the facts were showing that it wasn't, and again, the whole thing has to play out in court, but the facts that were available to us at the time were not showing racism. They were showing an accident. And for these people to come and stir these rioters up and to stir other people up by claiming racism when there is no available evidence at all in the public purview that there was any shred of racism is irresponsible, and it is
well, unfortunately,
in
cases like this, and I hate going there, but in cases like this, the facts don't matter.
No.
Okay, what matters is that the victim was black.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all anybody is going to focus on right now.
Right.
No one's going to focus on anything other than that at this point. And unfortunately, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I mean, it's too bad that no one cares about why the person was pulled over or what the mistake was, or
it's a tragic mistake.
It's a mistake that can't and shouldn't happen
ever.
I mean, and look, the officer's going to have to pay for it. I mean, in some way, shape, or form, the officer's going to have to pay for it.
I'm not suggesting she just gets off.
I don't think anybody really is, but due process takes time.
Yeah.
And you're just going to have to, people don't like that. They don't like listening to that. So I don't know what to say other than that. I don't know what to say outside of that you're ultimately going to have to let what happens happen. And you're going to have to respect a verdict. Mm-hmm. And I think you listen to the Chauvin trial right now. You listen to Al Sharpton coming to town. Is Al Sharpton interested in a fair trial?
No.
No, he's not interested in that at all. The family is now retained George Floyd's lawyer.
Yes.
Is he interested
Who
in?
also has worked on all of the other ones, Trayvon Martin and Breonna Taylor, and he's. I'm sorry, and I don't mean disrespect to the family, because in their eyes,
I'm not going to criticize the family.
They want justice, for what happened to their son,
and I get it,
and they want the best lawyer that they can get. And this guy has had lots of experience with these kinds of things, but
guy who shows up in all these things, and
so even when there's not racism to be alleged, he figures out a way to do it.
Well, I mean, and here's the other part that I guess gets to me.
Yeah,
is people of all colors are shot and killed every day.
Yeah,
why is there? I understand it's different when law enforcement's involved, but I look up Chicago and how many people got killed there yesterday, and yet there's no vigils, there's no anger, there's no call for changes, there's no changes in leadership in any of these cities. There's no. I mean, it's like,
look at the murder rate in Minneapolis.
Yeah,
it's like way up.
I mean, the same people who want to defund the police are complaining about police not getting enough training. Well, if they're not getting enough training, defunding them is probably the dumbest way to go about that. And I'm not saying there's not wasted money in law enforcement. There sure is. But when you have the governor tweeting out a few hours after something happens, well, we just got another black guy killed by law enforcement. He's the chief law enforcement officer of this state.
Yes.
I mean, it's, I don't know. It just, there's just no shame in anything that is done or said.
Right.
I mean, I tried all day long, Jay, yesterday to find any politician on the left, and quite frankly, there weren't many on the right either, who made statements and then said, I understand, but you should not loot. There should be no violence. There should be that is not the way to go about something. Some of them said it later, but their first reaction, which is important, in setting the tone for something, they know what they're doing too.
Yeah.
These politicians have publicists around them. They have speechwriters. There's no such thing. Tim Walz somehow is tweeting while he's at a press conference. He has somebody do it for him.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not the idea. It's not that they don't know what they're doing. They know damn well what they're doing. And the first thing they did was fan the flames of this. That was the first thing that happened.
Well, that's
it's
the
like
playbook.
As soon as there's a school shooting, you got everybody coming. And almost everybody wrote the same tweet.
Yeah.
I mean, Amy Klobuchar, Tina Smith, Tim Walz, that airhead lieutenant governor we have, even Dean Phillips, who later said backed off of a lot of that.
Yeah.
But at first, it's like, hey, here you are, some guy who inherited all your money, and you're out there talking about equity. It's like, give me that crap. I mean, it's just, you keep calling for unity, yet what's going to unify people? Looting and protesting and having curfews, that makes it worse. Every time it makes it worse.
Absolutely.
And the more you excuse this behavior, the more we're going to get of it. Well, I don't get it. I don't get why that's so hard why that's such a hard concept to grasp.
Well, because when you make victims out of people, you find it really hard to prosecute them for the bad things that they do.
Yeah, Democrats have spent their entire careers,
their victimhood.
Entire careers making victims out of minorities.
Yes.
I don't think they're victims. I think minorities are a untapped potential in so many of them.
Absolutely.
And they're trapped in their failing schools and their failing drug cultures, the destruction of the nuclear family. I mean, which I hold the left in this country responsible for a lot of that.
Yep. Me too.
They're trapped there, and that's also the left that is making it harder to get out. It's the left that won't allow school choice. It's which
is a super popular thing among even blacks and Hispanics.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's hard to get that message sometimes because they've been so indoctrinated over the years with left-wing culture stuff. I just think that I don't know what's going to solve this issue. Disarming law enforcement is probably the dumbest thing you can do. I'd like somebody to dial 911 and come back and tell me that a social worker shows up. And I mean, come on. I mean, you got to get serious for a change.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I'd hate to be the mayor of Brooklyn Center too and get criticized by Jacob Fry.
Yeah.
What was the quote? You had it somewhere. What was
I don't know. I don't have it right.
Well, if you get criticized by him, boy, you're doing a bad job.
Oh boy.
What's the mayor's of Brooklyn Center's name again?
Michael or Mike. Yeah.
Elliot.
That's
okay.
it. Yeah, I seem to remember not so long ago when there was a mayor who allowed his city to burn to the ground, including the 3rd Precinct Police Station. Got booed out of a rally because he wouldn't defund the police, and has had some of the highest murder and violent crime rates in his city over the last year that they've seen.
And I want to show something
many
too.
Years.
Mike Elliot, the mayor of Brooklyn Center,
Yes.
and maybe this gives a little credence to Amber Fry. I should stop defaming Amber Fry. It's Jacob Fry. But when you can't beat a 10-year-old girl in arm wrestling, it's kind of you get that moniker. Was out talking to protesters last night, talking about how peaceful they were. He's in like an army helmet while he's out there talking. That's so great out here. Yet, I got like he's got like a Kaiser World War I helmet on, and he's out there talking about how peaceful everything is. Here's a comment from the mayor that really pisses me off.
Yeah.
Dante writes this. He tweeted this about an hour ago. Will not be exploited. Listen to this.
Isn't that what they're doing?
Some outside elements may be planning to show up and infiltrate peaceful protesters and cause mayhem. Yeah, right. You mean the same people that you're bowing to right now? Or are these the white supremacists who are supposedly behind every protest?
Right, the Proud Boys who don't have anything to do with this kind of
I
stuff.
bet they're there.
Yeah. Yeah. Or what are the ones in the Hawaiian shirts that they made up? The Goober Patrol or whatever.
And then here's another thing. Washington County, and Jay, this is something I didn't know, actually has jurisdiction to prosecute this case.
Yes.
And the reason they do that is so that there's no conflict of interest.
Mm-hmm.
That the county isn't investigating itself. They have another county independently come in and do this. So,
which is good.
Washington County has the authority. The mayor is now officially asking Keith Ellison to take over the case.
That must mean that...
No, wait a minute. This is 2 days later. Not a charge has been filed.
Right.
But yet the attorney general should step in and take over the case.
Well, I don't think that Michael, what's his name, gets to make that case. That has to come from Michael Freeman, doesn't it? Or now
I
it
don't
would have
think
to come
so.
from Washington County?
The attorney general, if I read the law right, can take over a case if they
Well, they can take it over, but
I don't think they can. I don't know that I think the Washington County board or county attorney would have to be the one who turns it over.
Right, because Mike Freeman is the one who was asking for Keith Ellison to take the George Floyd trial.
No, Ellison came in and took it over. Freeman never asked.
I thought I read that he asked.
I don't think he might have asked for assistance.
Oh,
but I don't think that was the case that he was. I think what happened again was Freeman charged him with the correct crime, 3rd-degree murder. That's what the crime warrants.
Mm-hmm.
Ellison and the Black Lives Matter crowd and all that wanted second degree.
Right.
Then they backed off of it. However, the charge right now stands. And by the way, third degree murder, if I'm reading the law right, I believe carries a penalty of 12 and a half years to life. It's not like it's
right.
It's not like probation.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you got convicted of that,
you got to clean some toilets in the local businesses for 100 hours.
Pick up trash.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's not like that's nothing. But again, I think I'd be wary of, and again, I don't think if Derek Chauvin can't get charged with second degree murder, there's no way it's meritable in this case.
Right.
I think some sort of manslaughter or involuntary manslaughter charge is probably the highest count that could fly here.
Yeah.
Clearly, there was no premeditation, no intent to kill. I mean, I don't even know how you could make the case out for that. So, that's what you're looking at. But I think, again, they want the highest possible charge to come.
Right.
And then here's the other thing. When they're acquitted on that, you're going to see another round of craziness go on.
Absolutely.
And it'll be on their hands for their incompetence. I mean, if there's rioting after the Chauvin case, which I think there's going to be no matter what.
Right.
And I think, again, we're going to stand back and let it happen. I think, again, it's on the hands of the Attorney General. He's the one who screwed up the case in the top count.
Yep.
So to put him in charge of it is, I mean, I don't know where Mayor Elliot is getting his advice from. I don't know who's telling him. I don't even know who he is, to be honest with you. I have no idea. I've done no research on him. I don't care to know. He just doesn't seem somebody I care. But, I mean, the idea to ensure transparency, we're going to ask the governor to reassign, and I'm not sure the governor does this either, but to reassign Dante's case to the office of the Attorney General. I mean, I think that is
huge mistake. If you actually want justice, that's a huge mistake.
I mean, I think having another county come in who's not, why isn't that enough?
Well, I was going to look at the makeup of Washington County's county commissioners. I have a feeling that they're not diverse enough for Mr. Elliot.
Well, again, it's the county attorney that would be, who is elected by the way, that would, that's the one who'd be put in charge of the prosecution. I don't know who that is.
Well, the Washington County attorney. Oh, I should make sure that we're looking at Washington County, Minnesota. They may have named more than one county.
Well, there's a breaking story from Channel 5 that the officer may be charged tomorrow with something.
Really?
Yeah, Channel 5.
Wow. That's fast. Washington County Attorney Pete Orput.
Orput.
Yeah. Pete Orput. White is... He kind of looks like... Who does he look like? He looks like... who's that actor that he looks like? Kind of plays a goofball. That's going to bug me now. I've seen this guy in movies.
Well, go look up his filmography on Wikipedia. Then.
And it's not under Pete Orput, though. It's under some alias, I'm sure. I've definitely seen that guy.
Well, you never know with county attorneys. I mean, they run unopposed a lot.
Yes, they do. But I know that there, was a George Soros project to, just like there were with secretaries of state, that county attorneys as well.
Yeah, a lot of them are in the big cities. I don't.
Yeah, well, Washington, Washington County is part of the metro area here.
This policy was put into place actually last year after the George Floyd thing. That's why Mike Freeman.
I was confused about that. Why he could. Yeah.
Why he could. I guess the reason is they decided. So I think the whole point was that the Attorney General's office would not do this, but apparently there's and of course there's the BCA that is supposed to do their investigation as well. Apparently, the investigation is still ongoing. That's the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. My guess is that they are probably going to they finish those up pretty quick. But again, I mean, taking your time and doing something right, there's a little bit of wisdom in that. But both CBS and KSTP are reporting that charges may be filed tomorrow.
Hold on just a second.
Whoops.
He entered the race to replace the retiring Washington County Attorney Doug Johnson. He was a second candidate in the race. He's from Stillwater.
Washington County goes all the way from I'm trying to think of. It's got a goofy shape to it.
Yeah. I'm sure he is not liked by this ding dong in Brooklyn Center. Pete Orput has earned the respect of his colleagues, the police, and the communities he supports. And then Mike Freeman, I guess, saying this, for whom Orput works as assistant county attorney. His varied prosecutorial experience, excellent trial skills, and commitment to justice set him apart from others. You can trust this former Marine to make a positive difference in Washington County. And his opponent was backed by the outgoing guy, Doug Johnson. And our friends, our good, dear friends over at Communities United Against Police Brutality, who are almost for sure over mixing it up in Brooklyn Center right now, made a comment. So it turns out that Pete Orput's racist, was behind the harassment Mary Moriarty is facing. So
who's Mary Moriarty?
I don't know. But obviously if CUAPB is going after him, that means
that might be why that
they want to get it out of there. Yeah.
The officer wrote a letter of resignation today.
I'm still sure I've seen him in a movie. Yeah. Wait, so who wrote that today?
The officer involved.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to say the name. Quote, I am tendering my resignation from the Brooklyn Center Police Department, effective immediately. I've loved every minute of being a police officer and serving this community to the best of my ability, but I believe in the best interests of the department, the community, my fellow officers. I'll resign immediately. Sincerely, the person's name. And the chief, and again, I still think it's a mistake for both of them to do this.
Yes.
I see no reason why the chief needs to go. I just, again, I think these are just knee-jerk reactions are never very, very good in the long run.
Yeah.
I mean, they never turn out to be good decisions. And, I think for everybody to take a breath and back up a second would be good. I don't know what the situation's like in there right now. I mean, it doesn't matter when people hear this will be over. But
well, I don't know if it'll be over, but
I love how the media calls this unrest.
Yeah,
it's always unrest,
right?
Like when somebody's sleepwalking or something like that. It's never criminal what's going on. It's never a riot is never a crime. It's always justified in the minds of the media, who always seem to side with one side on these things. But I said a few weeks ago we were in for a rough spring, and I'm gonna still stick with that.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough spring, a rough summer. I don't think that it's going to let up at all. I think that it's going to continue to get worse.
And I'm gonna predict that we continue to have spineless leadership here in Minnesota. I mean, by the way, marchers and speakers have already said that resignations are not enough. So the firings are not enough. So much for the council people to try to pacify these crowds with firing somebody so you're afraid. That obviously is not good enough. Obviously not working. So,
Yes.
Washington County Attorney Pete Orput, this is from CBSLocal.com, talked about tomorrow being a decision day. The mayor of Brooklyn Center said that he was appreciative that the officer submitted their resignation, but that he had not asked for it. Well, you asked for them to be fired. So,
yeah.
But again, in 24 hours, the mayor has ousted the city manager, taken over the police department. The officer involved and the chief have both basically been ousted as well. So I guess everything falls on him now.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is just not good.
Yeah, I mean, we're in dangerous waters. I mean, as we've seen, the tactics have been, and I don't know how you control against this, but when they're all organized in one place but you bring a big force against them, which you have to do. You can't let them riot. You can't let them, they put up the concrete blocks. They put up the chain link fence because people wanted to burn that police station to the ground, just like they did in Minneapolis. And this is, I've talked to people connected with one of the police departments in the area who said this, and they were in a meeting, and you contain them, and when they disperse, they go out into other areas and start causing problems, and that's when a lot of the rioting happens. And some of them went to the Dollar Tree across the street, and I've heard that there are other places that were targeted as well. You saw things go into Brooklyn Park, and there was some rioting and violence in Brooklyn Park. You saw people go to the uptown area of Minneapolis.
St. Paul as well.
And I don't know how many people went there, or how many people just decided, hey, there's problems in town again, let's just start rioting where we're at. But even this morning, I'm taking my son to school. And a police officer has a car pulled over in New Hope. I'm not going to say where, but I'm driving down the road, and here's a guy recording the footage on his cell phone across the intersection kitty corner. And sure enough, it was a black guy that was pulled over as I passed by. But is that really where we're come to now? Is that there's so little trust and I don't think it's really, if people looked at the numbers, there's way too many, but we're led to believe that it's hundreds upon hundreds of black people that are getting killed by officers, and that's not true. Last year it was 9 or 12. Last couple of years it's been between 9 and 12, which is between 9 and 12 too many. There shouldn't be one unless they come after a police officer and threaten his or her life.
Well, again, every case has to be taken individually on their own merits.
Right. But are we at that place now in society where these people like Mike Elliot, people like our illustrious Attorney General, Keith Ellison, have whipped people into such racial turmoil over this, and the news networks and stuff, where we have people feeling like they have to watch over the police, who I think in New Hope they have body cameras anyways, that they have to be watching over the cops' shoulders to make sure that they do their job right. And so much of this is because of misinformation from the media and because of these politicians that are crying wolf at something, making it bigger than it actually is.
Yeah, I do, but I think it's been over time. I think over time, the generations of we've whipped up minorities into hate. The whole idea that white privilege, the whole idea that you're not a success and it's because somebody's screwing you out of it. Mm-hmm. All of that, we've gone through 3 generations now of the welfare state, and hardly anybody's alive from the 1930s, 40s, and even 50s anymore. Yeah. And you don't know a country anymore. If you're a 20-year-old black kid, you've been told that white people hate you. You've been told that they've held you down. You've been told that our history, we're a racist country. That our founding fathers were slave owners who hated blacks.
Yep.
That's been pounded into you, and you don't just pound that out of somebody.
No,
and you can hardly, that the police are the enemy.
You can hardly blame the people that have been taught this. You blame the people who do it. That
exactly,
teach it.
And but again, it's the cumulative effect of all of that, and public policy that keeps these people where they are, keeps them in the ghetto, keeps them on their assistance. The second they get off of it, they're cut off completely.
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably in worse shape. It's just a flaw in the system that's been there since the 60s. No one wants to fix it. No one cares. No one's going to do anything. So a handful get out of there. It's true.
Yeah.
Most don't. And it's just, again, if the only way, in my opinion, the only way this is going to be solved is by black leadership. They're the ones that have to solve this. They're the ones who are going to have to go out and say, look, whoever the equivalent of Al Sharpton is on the other side has got to say, look, we are part of this, and we have to do something different too. We can't sit here and loot our way into prosperity. You don't hear messages like that. And unfortunately, if the answer is going to be that we're forever victims and we're woe is us, we're prosecuted, this is white people are your enemy. How in the world do you expect any results differently than what you're getting?
Right.
So I don't see it changing. I see it getting worse. I see white and black people getting further apart, not closer.
Yeah.
And if it is, it's because white people are ripping on white people. It's just, I don't know. Jay.
Yeah. Well, I've had enough of these white liberal people who try to make us feel guilty because of the color of our skin. I'm sorry,
and
but
the
skin doesn't make the man.
Corporations.
Corporations.
Go right with it.
They are. That's part of the whole Great Reset. The S in ESG is social. It has everything to do with evening the playing field, with equity, with giving preferential treatment. So at some point, we all just quit trying because some of us get special favors and some of us can't win no matter how hard we try.
Yeah, equality, again, is equal opportunity, not equal outcome. And
right.
I'm all for equal opportunity, but I'm not for equal outcome. There's no way equal outcome can ever happen. It only happens in communist countries, and that's called equal misery.
Yes. I will gladly lose to a more qualified person of color every time. If I do my best and I lose to somebody who's more qualified than me, I don't care what color their skin is. I cheer them on for pushing themselves forward and doing something great.
Well, Jay, we've reached that time again.
Yeah?
You kind of started the sign-off sermon, I think, with that statement a little bit.
Maybe. Let me mull that over, will you?
Community Solutions, ladies and gentlemen, once again presents the only man that I trust with 2 first names. The women love him, the men want to be him. The king of Sting, the sultan of SWAT. He stole that. Babe Ruth stole that from him.
That's true.
The suffering of Succotash. The Roddy of Piper. The master of disaster, the king of Sting. Ladies and gentlemen, with the sign-off sermon, we once again present Community Solutions' own Jason Bradley.
Thank you, Andrew.
These introductions just get better.
They do. You'll have it nailed by episode 450. I'll tell you what.
Maybe 425.
Yeah, well, close to my batting average. All right.
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Ty Cobb. Yeah.
I tell you what. We're facing uncertain times. And we've got these people out there who are preaching hate and division and racism and saying that, oh, well, if they're white, they're racist and you can't trust them. How about this? If they're in politics, you can't trust them. Maybe that's a better way to go about. But you know what? Here's the thing. All of it should be summed up this way. Love your neighbor as yourself. That is the rule. That is the law. Love your neighbor as yourself.
And it's fitting that we're playing Brother Love's
Yes.
theme song while you say that.
That is true.
Love your neighbor.
Yes. You see, we have to. We can't be throwing rocks through windows and looting and pointing our fingers and saying, you know what, it's Whitey. Whitey's fault. The police officer did this on purpose without any facts. Can't be whipping people into a tumult. That's quite a word. We must love our neighbor as ourselves. But if you are always biting and devouring one another, watch out. Beware of destroying one another. See, if you let that part take hold of you, if you listen to that voice deep inside, if you're a reverent praying person and you let Holy Spirit guide your lives, you won't be doing these things that well up inside of you that you want to react out of your emotions. You see, because that part of you wants to do evil, which is just the opposite of what the other part wants. You see, God, through His Spirit, gives us desires that are the opposite of what you want when you're angry. So, these two forces are constantly fighting against each other. So, you're not free to carry out your good intentions, but when you are directed by the Spirit, you are not under obligation to the law. You see, when you follow the desires of your nature, I mean, it's natural, right? The results are very clear. Sexual immorality, impurity, lustful pleasures, idolatry, sorcery, hostility, quarreling, jealousy, outbursts of anger, selfish ambition, dissension, division, envy, drunkenness, wild parties, and other things like these. But let me tell you again, as I have before, that anyone living in that sort of life will not inherit the kingdom of God. But the Spirit produces this kind of fruit in our lives: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There is no law against these things. You see, we get all whipped up. And we want to do something. We want justice. We want somebody to pay. Oh, we can't have that. We can't make ourselves follow through that line of thinking, because if we do, we are going to have people that are getting hurt regularly, because the worst of our nature is going to come out. No, instead of that, we have to be leaders, and we have to lead with love. Because let me tell you, it doesn't matter what somebody's skin color is. I mean, I'm glad, like, if somebody's black and they're proud of their heritage and they're proud of their skin color, I have no problem with that. I think that's awesome. I'm proud of being a Swede. I'm proud of being English. I'm proud of being Cherokee. I think those are good things. What's not good is if I decide that what I am is better than what somebody else is. Or if, because of how I've been misaligned, how I've been maligned, that's the word I'm looking for. If I've been maligned so long because of what I am, that somebody else needs to pay, that's also not good. No, we have to learn to love what we are, but let that love for ourselves translate over to loving others. We're in a tough period, and we're in a period where we have more and more mayors like this Mike Elliot, like Jacob Fry, like Melvin Carter, who want you to pay should anything go wrong in the city. And you have cities setting themselves up right now with equity coordinators getting ready for just such a thing to happen. If we just decided to get along, I think we'd do a lot better. If we just decided that, hey, we're not going to buy into this. We're gonna let these politicians talk, and we're just not going to pay attention to them, and we're just going to go on living, and we're going to go on loving each other, treating each other the right way, letting their words fall on deaf ears. I think eventually they would get it, because we would not be reacting to what they say and what they do. But we do. And so they continue to draw our attention to things that are not helpful, they're not healthy, they're not good for building a community. But let me tell you this. We have the ability to change. All we got to do is stop listening. And then we need to stand up, and we need to get into those positions. Those of us who are good, those of us who know how to love, we need to get into those positions of power, not to take power, but to give it. That's the key. It's not about getting positions of power so that you can be powerful. It is getting into positions of power so that you can free up the system for other people to become powerful, for people to live out their destinies, that they have a chance to pursue happiness, to have the opportunity to really live, to really be free. That's when you know that you've done a good job as a politician. Unfortunately, there's too much taking power, too much putting trust in the government to be the arbiter of that power rather than the releaser of that power. So I challenge you. If you really want to see things different, if you're tired of these riots, if you're tired of people telling you what's up, what's down, and here's what you got to do, go home and stay there, then join us in our fight. You can get a hold of us at COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. That is COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. And we will help. That's what we're here for. We have dedicated ourselves to help this state turn around and find good people, good moral people, to create a good moral government. Because we're inching, maybe leaping further and further away from that day by day by day by day. And they have a plan. We need a plan. You can't sit this one out, because someday when you finally get around it, I can't take it anymore. I got to do something. It's going to be too late. You got to be proactive, and you got to do it now. We're running out of time. So share this stuff with everybody you know, and make a decision, make a commitment today that we're going to do this differently. We have to. We have to start now, because our time is short. But that's why we're here. We love you, Minnesota. But now it's your turn to get to work.